Let me tell you about my first night in Amsterdam, or as so many people insist on pronouncing it, Amsterdam. So, backstory. I was taking a year off from college, as one does, and I was like, oh, I'm so bored, I don't know what to do. My dad goes, Thomas, get a job. And so, okay. So I go and I apply to all the jobs I can find. And I don't get any of them because it is 2008, it is the middle of the financial crisis. Economy's in the shit, nobody's hiring. So I'm like, Dad, I can't get a job, what should I do? He goes, have you checked on Craigslist? I go, they have jobs on Craigslist? So I go on Craigslist, and I'm looking at the jobs. I'm like, there's an adult jobs section? It's not there anymore, but there used to be back then. That sounds hilarious, I'm gonna click on that for a laugh. So I click on that. First thing on the list says, we are looking for a thin white male between the ages of 18 and 25 who is willing to have gay sex on camera for money. And I think, wow, that sounds like a perfect description of me. So, I got that job doing porn. After I applied, I got the job. I did porn for the summer, earned a few grand, and then used that money to travel to Europe, backpacking around. So, I got me one of those tickets where you buy it in advance and then you can turn it into a few train tickets as you go. Not actually that good of a deal in retrospect. But so I'm in Paris for a week, and then I'm like, you know what? I could go wherever I want, whenever I want. I could go to Amsterdam right now. Sorry, still recovering from that throat thing. So I get the ticket to Amsterdam, and I'm like, you know what? It's Friday. I should probably reserve a hostel room ahead of time rather than just show up and hope that they have one. So I call the hostel and I'm like, hey, do you have any rooms available that I can reserve? And they're like, yeah, totally. Just, give us your credit card number and we'll reserve it for you. I'm like, okay, I got a debit card. Where did it go? Oh no! The card is gone. Somebody stole it and used it to buy €500 worth of ties, which is weird. My guess is that they're one of those people who has a booth selling ties on the street, and this is how they stock their booth, by stealing people's credit cards and then buying ties from legitimate stores. I don't know. That's just my guess. So anyways, I show up in Amsterdam without a hotel room. It's 10 o'clock at night, without a hostel room rather, or a hotel room. When you get off of Amsterdam Centraal, which is the main train station, you have three choices as to which direction you can go. You can go to the right, which will put you in the Jordan, which is a nice suburban area. It's where most of the Dutch people actually live in Amsterdam. A few days later, I ended up staying in a Christian hostel there, but that's not the direction I chose to go. You can go down the center, which is sort of a touristy. It's where a bunch of the museums are. It's where the government buildings are. There's a fair number of hostels there. Also not where I decided to go. Or you can go to the left. If you go to the left, you're in the red light district. That's where I decided to go. That's the seediest, most dangerous part of Amsterdam. And fortunately, though, it's where a lot of hostels are because it's cheap to live there. So I go there. I have €50 on me, and that's it. And I have to live off of that until I can get a replacement debit card, which will take a while. So I have to be stingy with my money. So I go to the hostel that I called earlier, and they're like, sorry, man, we're completely booked up. But you can try this hostel over there. So I go over there, try them. They're completely booked up. They send me to another one. I go there. They're completely booked up. I do this over and over and over, and there's just no rooms left. And I'm just completely lost at this point. I've got barely any money, nowhere to sleep. It's friggin' midnight by now or something. I'm just wandering around Amsterdam, no idea what to do. And this guy comes up to me and he says, hey, are you looking for a place to stay? I can take you, I can show you a place you can sleep. And I'm like, alright, this guy's sketchy as hell, but sure, what do I got to lose? I'll follow him. So I start following him, and the guy's talking to me really quickly. The guy is Kurdish, he tells me. He says, I'm Kurdish, I love Americans, because you Americans are just like us Kurds. We both hate Arabs. And I'm like, huh. Don't really have a problem with Arabs personally. but don't really want to get into an argument with you either, so I'll just sort of be quiet. He's like, I love George Bush. Remember, this is back when Bush was president. He's like, I love George Bush because no one in the world hates Arabs more than George Bush. I'm like, all right then. Not a big fan of Bush myself, but okay. So eventually he lets slip that he wants me to pay him for taking me to a hostel. And I'm like, sorry, dude, I do not have the money to spare. So he turns one direction, I turn the other direction, and he starts following me, trying to get me to follow him. This goes on for a while, and then eventually there's this British dude standing on the corner who sees what's going on. He goes, hey man, you trying to find a hostel to stay in or something? I can take you back to the one where I'm sleeping, and I don't want any of your money. I'm like, that sounds great! So I start following him, and the Kurdish guy just explodes at this. Like, he is furious. So he is just super pissed off. He starts yelling at the British guy, cussing at him in English and Kurdish, and just like, I can't remember all the things he said, but one thing that really stuck in my mind was he was ranting about how these foreigners are coming here and taking his job, which is, catchphrases are universal apparently. So this is going on for a while, and then British guy goes around the corner, Kurdish guy is off, to the side, and then there's me. And the Kurdish guy, there's a bunch of people on the street, by the way. So the Kurdish guy signals to this guy who's standing on the corner. The guy who's standing on the corner is this enormous black dude, just like friggin' 8 feet tall and 5,000 pounds, just huge guy. And the black guy sees the Kurdish guy's signal and goes, and then steps into line behind us. And I'm like, oh shit, something's about to go down. And the Kurdish guy runs up and punches the British guy in the back of the head. And the British guy's just like, what the fuck? And me and the British guy whirl up back to back. And I'm like, I have no idea how to fight. And I have this giant backpack on my back. And we're right next to a canal. All they'd have to do to completely fuck me up is just push me in there. And I would be in so much shit. This is really bad. So there's a ton of people around. But they're all giving us a really wide berth and not getting involved. So the British guy is just like, what the fuck? And the Kurdish guy, after he got in his one sucker punch, he like backs off and isn't compressing the fight. And the big black guy comes up out of the crowd, and the British guy is like, "Hey man, can you talk some sense into this guy? What the fuck?" And I'm like, "Those two are together. We are completely fucked." And the black guy comes up and he puts his hand on the Kurdish guy's shoulder and he goes, "Hey man, you don't want to start another fight. Come on, we'll take you back to the bar and we'll forget all this happened. Let's go." And then they just disappear into the crowd. And so then I go back to the British guy's hostel and I spend the rest of the night smoking joints with him and two Portuguese guys watching Dutch SpongeBob SquarePants. And that was my first night in Amsterdam. Thank you for letting me tell you about it. I'm going to get back to telling you about mythology soon, don't worry.